All right, guys, I'm going to be singing Watermelon Man as our open. No, I'm just kidding. That this song with no lyrics. If you know, you know, but we're not doing that. All right. So, how are we doing? I have a little song. It's not an oldie. It's not a goodie. It's all right, but it's a cutie. So let's start off our little sound check. We'll let people filter on in with the presidents of the United States of America. Yes, that acronym is POT USA, which was hilarious when I was 13. I don't know if that's an accident. I don't know if that's on purpose, but that was the name of their first album. And let's do a little sound check. It's 6 a.m. and the sun is getting high. He picks up the mail from the slot. He feels the rush of excitement as he holds them in his hand. Another love note no one got. Some postman is grooving to all our love letters. Some postman is gonna cry. Some postman is grooving to all our love letters. Some postman is gonna cry. Gonna cry, yeah. It's noon now, and all the mail boxes have been emptied, and all the letters are inside. He counts them, he checks them, he looks for clues and finds the ones with hearts on the outside. Some postman is grooving to all our love letters. Some postman is gonna cry, holding on to package meant for a distant lover. Thought it would be there overnight, like my fish. She waits and she cries and she thinks I do not love her. The postman holds on oh so tight. Some postman was grooving to all our love letters. Some postman is gonna cry, yeah. Some postman was grooving to all our love letters. Some postman is gonna cry, yeah. All right, guys. I'm sorry. I had to get that out of my system. How are we doing? How is it? How is it? How spaghetti western style. How Chief Wigwam. And it's dumb. What's up? Hey, redfish, bluefish. What is going on, my brother? Boy, there's a name I haven't heard in years. You are going to open your fish emporium of European quality fish soon. I am going to open my fish emporium of fish soon. Let him pass. All right. Sketty Nona, what's up? Cassandra, hello. Waiting to board a plane. Wow. Seeing snakeheads. Oh, you got your fix in Japan. That's cool. So, you know, tomorrow I have a video. I've been working on this video. And granted, guys, I've been having all sorts of flares. And they're going to put both legs possibly in cast. One for sure on Monday, tomorrow. It's been a journey. And guys, let me just say this real quick, like right before we get to anything important or look at anything or start answering questions. But, you know, I really, really, really do appreciate the support that folks were showing, that I'm having another rough go through everything. You know, it's been almost, I mean, we're coming up on almost a year again of me now, since I was in the hospital for a few weeks, and then like that is still going on. So we're not going to talk about all that today or anything, but I just wanted to say that I was really like anxious about the fact that a very kind and thoughtful person made a GoFundMe, but I just was really, I don't like there's so many people that are in need. So many of you need help too, and have, you know, are, you know, making it through the payday or whatever the, you know, the story is. But I do want to say thank you so much for those of you who were able to and decided to. you know, it's a weird feeling, but I do really appreciate it. And obviously I want to thank everyone individually, but just, yeah, thank you for, so there are a couple $100, almost $1,000, I think, raised total. And I mean, I I don't know if I've earned it or not with the YouTube, but you know, a lot of people were like, "This is because you helped me save a fish," or "My tank was crashing, and 3 years ago you," and like, if that's true, I really hope it is. Like, that means a ton to me to know that um, the videos, the advice that's gone out into the world has been productive and helpful. And on that note, today I was wanting to talk about whatever you guys want to talk about, because it's a pop-up, it's a live stream, and I'm cool with whatever y'all want. However y'all want to steer this plane, whether that's into a mountain or nice and easy at 40,000 feet, or 40,000 leagues, whatever it is, 30,000. How many leagues under the sea? Well, I don't remember. But whatever that may be, you know, I'm cool with it. I will follow you. Run away, run away, run away. I will follow. You know, like early U2 before Bono had glasses. They're corrective, I'm sure. Actually, I there's a clip of him somewhere being like, actually, I had to wear them because the stage lights were so bright and blah blah blah, damaging my eyes. It's like, yeah, I don't think that's why you wear sunglasses inside at nightclubs and stuff. But all right, sure, good story. But back to Fish, the band. Let's talk about Fish for 4 hours. No. So today, you know, I was thinking, I just did an episode on fish that are in the hobby that most people do not even know are completely extinct in the wild. So things like clown loaches, they're not completely extinct, or arowanas, or samphong rasboras. These are fish that exist in like literally smaller than, you know, New York City amount of range, and there's like a few left in some cases, and nobody's caught them for like 8 or 9 years. Like, that's how hard they are to find. You know, there's eDNA signatures of some of them, but nobody's caught one in 20 years, like in the case of some fish in our hobby. Yet they are $5 at Petco. It's absolutely there goes my wife. She's off to order Thai food, I think, for us for the evening. But it's absolutely mind-boggling, the fact that we have fish in the hobby that are extinct in the wild even. So like the rainbow shark, that's one that they haven't found in the wild. The Denison barb, very close. The samphong rasbora, almost gone in the wild, but they did find it in a farmer's rice field in the suburbs of Bangkok. And it's being kind of kept on the down low. But all the stock that's in the hobby is tank raised. So it's at the price of tank raised fish, which is pretty wild. Now, the other thing that I didn't realize was such a wild problem right now is bettas. So as you may know, there are over 100 betta species. Like, if you ask an ichthyologist that specializes in labyrinth fish, or in like Tenopoma, gourami, betta, like that kind of group of fish, snakeheads, so forth, they will tell you that you know, there are a number of them that haven't had Latin names yet, that are waiting. They have like a trade name. Like, just the other month, there was the jade betta, which they think it was the Persephone or Persephone betta, and or the Levita betta, and they named it the Iapsis betta or Iapsi betta. Finally, just named it, but it didn't have a name, and it had been collected for the last 4 years from the one spot on one island where it exists, and now they can't find it. And luckily, there were some Chinese. I mean, I think they care. I hope they care. But they basically collected, I don't know, 200-300 of these fish in 2023, and they moved them to a private rice farm in the same region that is like gated off, and they've been secretly breeding them there, and they didn't even announce that they had put them there as like a life raft. And it costs money. You know, they were asking for money at the beginning of the year, but what they've been doing is they've been breeding them and selling them. But because there was no scientific name, no IUCN report, there's no academic research done on any fish that don't have names really. So how can you quantify how in trouble it is? So that is what we look into in the video that I hopefully will upload in the morning. It's going to be probably 25-30 minutes at the final cut edit that I'm still working on. And that's what I've been working on all week. And actually, I called 6 ichthyologists for this video. Not a single one wanted to appear on stream or a live video about the subject of over harvesting. And it was because almost across the board, if they were a specialist in a certain fish, so for instance, chili rasboras, they're being bred in captivity in Indonesia, and it's pretty easy to do when you use hormones apparently, but they're also being caught in the wild. And right now there is a very high chance that their habitat will become palm oil plantations, will get logged for cattle, somewhat still a bit of rubber and like latex farm type stuff. But then just mineral mining is dumping all sorts of acids and different toxins into the waters in Borneo and Sarawak and Kalimantan regions, in Malaysia, Indonesia, all these deep peat bog regions. Of the known species that are in the hobby that are commonly traded, there are a ton that are not yet classified as endangered or critically endangered, but they would undoubtedly, according to these experts, meet the qualification. I mean, in some cases, they think they're, you know, anything out of, for instance, Lake Matano or Paso, anything off Sulawesi. I mean, it's in one lake basically. And while you could argue that anything in one lake is kind of endangered, especially if it's not a big lake, there are sustainable harvests and fisheries of certain lakes. For instance, Lake Inle gets harvested, but it's by a very specific group of people. They ask for permission from tribal leaders of the Shan or the Wa people. And there's a militia that kind of guards the lake up there. And there's the government that prevents exporting unless things are in order on all fronts and someone got paid properly on all fronts. So what's interesting is the way these things get regulated, and like, why is it that the arowana is illegal in the US, the snakehead is illegal in the US, which isn't endangered whatsoever, most of them, but yet a lot of these fish like bettas, which of the 97 betta species that are now recognized, of them there are 28 that are either endangered or critically endangered or extinct in the wild that are like known. Now there's another suspected group of like another 5 or 6 when I was talking to a guy, Wen Shi, who is he's based in New York, the Natural History Museum, but he's Chinese, and he's very fluent in Chinese, in Malaysian, or I guess Malay, or and also speaks a number of like Indonesian regional dialects and Borneo. He can also get around there, and a number of, I mean, he's just a phenomenally talented guy that has traveled all over, and his main passion is taking pictures of bettas. You'll see his watermark on a lot of bettas, like, because they don't exist photographed in good quality anywhere other than from this guy. People send this guy stuff all over, and I was talking to him, and he was of the opinion that hobbyists are not doing anything helpful essentially for the betta. And I was kind of shocked at that opinion by this guy, because I know plenty of people who are breeding care species or Madagascar cichlids, or, you know, stuff that's kind of, you know, goodyids. And the difference is that there is a network with Goodeids. The CARES species, you can register that, hey, I have the genetics from this, and you can kind of gather from what people write up and the amount of detail how into it they are and by what they're keeping. Whereas people who are just keeping rare fish or endangered fish for the heck of it, they may be doing a great job, but it's hard for the academics, it's hard for nonprofits or whoever may want someday to say, hey, everyone out there, we're trying to get a genetic diversity of these fish because we have a plot of land that is preserved, and we're going to re-release X amount like they did with Goodeids. And it's a really interesting situation. So that video is going to be about all of those ideas, and is it a good idea to have money and like arowanas going for 10 grand because they're a popular fish even though they're endangered, like being farm raised and having a licensing system? Is that a good way to do it? Or is it better to not allow anyone to have them and to just raise awareness in the social consciousness? But this all started, and I'll stop talking at you guys very soon here. And the thing that shook my consciousness with all of this, and it really made me, I don't know why it caused me to awaken and really realize the role that I have, even as a YouTuber of mid-size. And also, Jesus, Crisco, I see you, and thank you so much for the super chat, my bro. I will read that off in a minute. I really do appreciate it. I'm just going to keep going here for a moment. But, I wanted to talk about, so I mentioned that Betta in a moment back, that Wen Tianxi, or Wen Shi as he goes by, it has photographed, right? And that's the jade Betta. Absolutely, or Iapsis, I guess, Iapsi Betta, as they're going to call it. But absolutely a stunning redfish, crystal blue eye, and a emerald jade square right in the center of it. And it's already extinct in the wild, other than where these guys, basically on the down low, without permits or anything, they just went in and moved the thing in in Thailand. Well, I can't say exactly where it is. It's in a border region, so I don't actually know which country it is in, but it's right within a border area, and that was intentional so that hopefully it could radiate out and be in two jurisdictions, so that if it survives in the rice paddies on either side, hopefully there is different laws or different amounts of regulation that can protect that fish if one side fails and the other side is successful, so to speak. Kind of an interesting situation that's going on. But also, I mean, there's all these bettas right now being pictured coming out of like and I'm gonna butcher the name of the island, but Beitong or Beltong Island. And recently, the same guy who I was talking with on video chat, and he was uncomfortable because he said his English is not very good. And you guys will see these photos when you see the video, but those are copper and mercury mines. And it's not that the mercury is that needed or worth that much. It's that they need it to process the gold, and it happens to be abundant enough there. But in this picture, it's really sad in that you can actually see palm oil plantation. You can see the mines if I focus this better, and the different colors of holding things of water, like ponds, big retention ponds and creeks and stuff. I don't know. That's not getting any better. Hold on. Let's see. Are you going to get any better? No. Anyways, you'll see it in the video. I know this isn't the best way to show it. And same with these areas that once used to be flooded forests. Now you can see the city comes right up with the highway, even though it's on a viaduct that's like 30 feet high. In a lot of regions, they're building right out to these areas. And these that connect up, and then the Betta or you know, whatever it may be, little rasboras, loaches, they can swim all throughout that area when it's the wet season. But when it's the dry season, it's a whole different story. And when you look at it and you see that these same areas with all the mining and stuff are going on there, that all gets flooded and then just washes all over all of that land for all of those people, heavy metals and all. So yeah, but what I wanted to talk about too is I wanted to ask you guys before I finished my video on those rare fish and the ones in the hobby that we are still breeding, you know, goodeids and things, and like what's the best way to save fish? Are we saving them? Is it all just a pipe dream? I mean, clearly the goodeiid working group, we have evidence that 2 species, the tequila goodeiid and the Ameca splendens or the skiffy, the golden skiffia, those both have been reintroduced, and at least for 14 years, 11 years in one case, 14 in another, 9 in another, they have survived, and like 5 times their initial population is now in existence. Super cool. So that's really neat. Also, like on the flip side, we've got things like the devil's hole pupfish, where you got scientists all over that site. You've got a backup population, and you've got literally barbed wire cages and cameras, and even at times they've had armed guards in there when people were throwing stuff in there over, I don't know, land rights or something. But long story short, they are doing everything you could imagine you would want to do to save a fish. Like, and we can't do that for every species. But if you could imagine like the most you could do for a species, that would probably be it. You know, literally boxing off the area and saying no one can go in there and nothing can even leach into the groundwater or make its way to yada yada. Well, an earthquake happened this year. And after years and years of watching these fish, the devil's hole pupfish, an earthquake of all things stirred up silt, which clouded out the minute amount of light that makes it into this trench cave or canyon, slot canyon cave, and it killed the biofilm and algae that those fish come up and feed on the shelf, and that their fry feed on. So they went from their highest population ever at almost 300 individuals counted in this cave down to, they're at 35 or 34 as of last month. And that number has like oscillated quite a bit, but it's usually like goes down to 70, goes up to 250 during the peak of breeding season, then goes down to 65, then, you know, and we've seen that. But how do you classify a fish like that? Of course it's endangered, but at the end of the day, is it important? Is it worth the money? And these are things that are not for me to decide, but that somebody has to decide them. And definitely in a country where people are starving or the government isn't stable and things like this, we definitely don't have the money, or they don't, you know, we collectively. Well, those are situations where there's no way they're going to have the money to do anything remotely like that. So what can us as fish keepers do? And for me, for many, many years, the idea was, well, if I can buy it and it's out there on the market, it's not illegal, I don't see it's critically endangered, I'm going to buy it even if it doesn't have a Latin name, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to try to breed it. Usually, if I know that a fish was wild caught and it's questionable whether it's sustainable or not. So here's a big ethical question, and I want, let's see, I can't poll you guys, which is frustrating. But also let me read that super chat before I scroll down. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate it. Jesus, love you, boo-boo. Stop pushing back, rip the curl, and let the vibes come back to you, man. Well, thanks, man. I'm trying to surf that wave, and I do appreciate it. I really do. You guys are an incredible community, and there are people that are, you know, coming back from 8 years ago on the channel that are like, hey bro, just wanted to toss you $5. You know, I haven't kept fish in 5 years, but here, and you don't need to toss me $5, but like, that's so moving to me. That really has lifted my spirits, because as I've said a number of times, I don't have kids, and I really wonder sometimes, like, what am I doing here? Like, what difference does it make? And hopefully, like, spreading a little bit of happiness, a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of entertainment, maybe helping someone else be happy so that they can go out and be the next Einstein or the next, you know, discoverer of the next cool betta species. Any of that would be satisfactory to me as a legacy, right? Mick, how are you doing, buddy? Some fish may be extinct before they even get a scientific name. Yeah, well, that's so this is exactly what I'm getting at, is what do we do, for instance, with stiphodons or stiphodons, the incredible little fish that swims up fresh water in the Pacific Islands and Southeast Asia, and they go all the way up waterfalls up to 600 freaking meters. I mean, we're talking over, you know, over 1,500 feet climbs in one case. And they're going and doing these incredible things to get to their freshwater spawning grounds. And then they have the tiniest babies ever that are like basically a couple cells, and they just float all the way back down into salt water or brackish water, depending on the species. Some of them go all the way out to sea, like hundreds of kilometers. And those then grow up eating that dinoflagellate and diatomaceous plankton that is so nutritious for a tiny, tiny, tiny organism that in freshwater, the algae and the microbiome is just not small enough. It jumps from that size of plankton to like bacteria, which, yes, it can grow in colonies. Fungi can grow in colonies too, but it's not snack size, just like these diversity of plankton in the ocean is. And other larval fish, other larval crustaceans, jellyfish, bivalves, things like that, that we wouldn't even think of as being in a, you look at a thing of water, maybe it's a little bit smoky or milky looking from salt water. That bit of haze that looks like bubbles, maybe a bit of extra aeration if it were freshwater, is like a million little species, you know, a lot of times. So that is why those fish, the little gobies, need to go wash out and eat that. Then they come back in when they're maybe a half an inch to an inch long, and they make that journey all the way back upstream, up their mountain, or, you know, sometimes it's just a nice meandering river or a creek. But at the end of the day, they have to make that journey, metamorphosis, and we don't know. You know, oftentimes we don't know how many there are. We assume, oh, they're all over this creek, and there's only 2 guys that live on that island, and they sell to this Chinese distributor, so all of it's coming from there. So, well, it's probably all right. But really, we don't always know that it's sustainable. Whereas other stiphodon species, something like the Aru, I always mess up the name, the rainbow one, or the elegans. Those two, we know they're all over Indonesia, and a bunch of different islands have them in different color morphs. So, of course, those are probably much safer. But some of them go to one island and spawn for a period of time. Then their babies swim out to sea and don't come back to the island that they were hatched on. They go to a different island, have babies there for a season, and then those babies return to the island that the grandparents were from. And then it starts over. So it's like, how do you even begin to wrap your head around that, especially when there's not the funding to even know a Latin name for some of these things? So it's really hard to, yes, exactly. Emily said it totally correct right here, which is hard to raise awareness if you don't see it, or if it's not quantified. How can you know whether it's harmful or helpful? So what has crossed my mind, and I was so excited to do a species spotlight for you guys on my fork-tail loaches. So I bought these things maybe 2 years ago almost now, the first time I bought 2 of them. And then I bought another one about 6 months ago. And I didn't ever see the first 2 again. Literally, I bought them, and I'm going to be real with you guys. I thought they died. They did not. They were living under the sand, eating algae or something in the tank with the pistos and the coolie loaches and the rainbow fish. And they're doing totally great. They've grown, they were 2 inches. Now they're like 4 inches. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you've seen me posting pictures of these cool little guys. Because I recently cleaned the whole tank out, wheeled over to it. Right now I'm sitting in a chair, but I was in the fish room. I was like, well, I guess I'm going to wheel over and clean the heck out of one tank, right? So I cleaned it out and I sucked up all the sand and put it in a bucket just to rinse it out, because that tank is a sand-based tank with lots of water turnover. It's not a deep substrate tank or anything. And so then what I did was I found a bunch of pictures. I took a bunch of pictures of the fish with this cool forked tail. And I finally found all 3 of the loaches doing great and growing. And I found them and I put them in this container. I put a little black curtain behind it. I took pictures of them with a bunch of light. I put some sand and some stones in there. The thing is, they're so good at going right into the substrate. And within less than 2 seconds, their whole body can be covered in less than a half inch of sand, which is wild. How good they are at that. But apparently they live in the peat bogs of Borneo. And don't they? Yes, they do. They live in the peat bogs of Borneo. And the first 4 collection points, I spoke with a man named Ravi that was really, really nice. I think he is like Punjab Indian, but he's living in Brunei. And he would go out to Kalimantan, he'd go out collecting. And he said that, 4 or 5 years ago, they were able to just pull up all the leaves in like about an inch or 2 of water in the dry season. And they would shake out the leaves, and with the sieve, they would end up finding some bettas and these and a couple gouramis, some chocolate gouramis, and things like that. And that they were pretty easy to find. Well, now all of that area that was an hour or 2 drive from town into the foothills, if you even look on Google Earth, like it's that obvious, it's now rows of palm oil trees, or it's been developed into like mining land. And he was saying that now he has to trade the local indigenous tribal people, he has to trade them like kerosene and camping supplies to get these. These are going for $22 in the US, $22 to $30 in the US. They're not listed as endangered. They have a Latin name, but realistically, according to 2 ichthyologists that know Borneo very well, they were saying like it's absurd that they're not considered, on the edge of extinction. Like there may be 5 little watering holes where they are still being easily found. So it's kind of interesting, because a lot of this is all about politics and who has the most charismatic fish. Is the fish good for anything? Arowanas are beautiful and they are a big fish. Other fish are food fish, and so when they go missing, people are like, "Whoa, something's really changed on the river," and they go ask, the mine owners, like, "Why are you poisoning our foods?" But when a little pretty inch-long fish starts to go missing, there's a good chance that nobody's going to really say much or even care much, unfortunately. But yeah, so I am curious if anybody's keeping anything like this. But my new pledge to the channel, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys, I need your opinion on this. I really do. Maybe I'll do a vote on the actual YouTube community bulletin thing. But is it better that I do a species spotlight so that people can see these fish, and that one person sees them and they're out there covered, documented, and it's made very clear that I don't support people buying them? Or is that just so hypocritical, right? That no, I shouldn't buy them. I shouldn't even bring them up. Like, don't highlight fish that are clearly unsustainably being caught. Now, if it's in the middle somewhere, like for instance, chili rasboras, there's still probably, the way they breed, there could be hundreds and hundreds of babies from one individual. So it only takes a group of 1,000 to kind of ensure the species could go on and on and on, as long as that, as long as that population were healthy or whatnot. And it's the mere fact that their habitat has gone goodbye that's tough. But really, you'll see indicators most likely with common fish like that. With fish that are under $10, their price will start to go up, up, up as they get harder to find. And that's when you can put your foot down and say, you know what, I don't want to be a part of supporting these fish being collected anymore. But I really wish we'd have more transshippers or wholesalers that knew the situation on the ground a bit more, because intuitively there are a lot of ichthyologists and there are a lot of fish collectors that are selling these fish, and they sure as hell know whether their fishermen are coming in with all 50 that they requested of a fish, or if they're coming back with 12, 10, and it used to be that they'd have excess. Those trends are not necessarily scientifically reflective of what's going on, but it's better than nothing, and it may give us some advance warning. So all things, I'm curious about what your take is on those. And I'm going to read some of the comments here. Johnny, thank you for the guest membership. That's so nice of you to give out memberships as you so often do, so people can come and be a part of this, listen to the audio episodes. Tomorrow's episode, if I get it finished, edited tomorrow, should be one that you can watch and I'll have nice visuals, but also should be one that you can just sit back and listen to for a half hour as well. What new plants are hot this summer? So that's a good question. And I think maybe I'll have Luke Wong on this stream to talk about that. But that Samolus parvulus, that plant, which is actually going to be called Leishmania something or other, Leishmania parvulus maybe. Anyways, sorry guys, I have a cat hair in my throat that's itchy. If you see me going, it's me trying to swallow it or something. I don't know what I'm trying to do. So many endangered species, decreasing natural areas, and polluted waters is a thing. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it's hard for us to know, even if you go online, even if you want to be a responsible fish keeper, it's difficult to know. 1/3 of all fish that are freshwater are, by the IUCN, they are either threatened with becoming endangered, critically endangered, or extinct. And that's really wild. Later, Robert, have a good one. John says, I've never really seen a fork-tailed loach, but really interesting in getting some. Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that I'm a little worried that like a lot of people want to get them, and we don't know I guess we don't know if they even breed in captivity so far. Nobody has a report on that I've found. Oh, nice. I love seeing all these people with Amica splendens. And, I went down to that river, the Amica River. We stayed right on that river. And also, Big Steve, I didn't see your chat originally. Or did it just come in? Oh, it just popped up. Hope you're feeling better. Glad to see you back at it. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to keep live streaming even on days when, or even on weeks, I should say, when I'm kind of doing rough. And right now I'm still having an autoimmune flare. I don't know if you guys can see how literally like my face is so red and swollen. It's all puffy too. Same with like rashes on my throat and everything. And I'm on a lot of medications that kind of either make me tired or they make me wired or they make me wired and tired. And I'm like, so bear with me, but we're hopefully getting things back on track sooner or later. And what's very interesting to me is that like the Goodyear working program has been so successful. And it's like, is it because it's live bearers and they breed so easily in captivity? I think that's a big part of it. Is it because they are a cool fish that's relatively small? I think that's another part of it. But overall, I think what worked is that it is a government. So the Mexican government, the American government, both are working on saving these fish. The universities around the world, several in Europe, several in North America, Central America, are working on it. The people on the ground at the original habitat have a nonprofit and basically a cultural heritage linked nonprofit where they sell garments, and they sell like at farmers markets to tourists and things. They sell like trinkets and beaded stuff and shirts and stuff like that. And they've been now pretty successful at also just getting rid of the crappy technology that was a part of creating the waste and destruction in the river. So people used to use water power, and they would put their literal mill or their bandsaw for their shop on the river, churning with water from the river like a mill from the 1800s. And while that is innovative, it's very I guess clever, making good use of resource, then it ends up with like, okay, well, the metal filings are all falling back into the river, and then there's like broken down cars that are in the dry bed of the river, and the rivers there go up and down like 50 feet from their wet season to the dry season, from hurricane to drought. It can really, unfortunately, like Texas, it can go crazy like that. And because of all that, there are literally like where I went on the Amica River to show like what's left of the habitat of these fish. And I thought we would see some diversity, maybe not find the Goodyids. And we didn't only not find the Goodyids in that video. When I went down to Mexico there, we did not find hardly any fish other than brackish fish that were trapped in the dry season up the river. And there were slug bugs, there were Vita, cars, there were Datsuns, there were these old Toyota pickup trucks. There's trucks from like the 70s that probably crashed out in the 90s that are just leaking oil and just falling apart, rusting in the bed of the rivers, half submerged. Some are up on the banks, some are twisted around trees. And there is just sewage from all these little towns draining right into the river. And it's wild to see that. Now, granted, this was all right by the outflow of the river. And to them, they see it going right into the ocean, and the ocean being ginormous, right? And these are some very, very impoverished people. But the effort to save them is farther up in Michoacan, and it's like in the mountains, and it's actually, like it or hate it, the cartels have scared everyone out of the region up inland, where there are these mountain streams that can hold these fish. So literally the university has an understanding with the cartels in Jalisco and Michoacan. And they basically, because of this, it's just like in Colombia, where 1/3 of Colombia would have probably been developed with, you know, housing developments, roads, mining, all sorts of stuff. If it hadn't been for the fact that there were a bunch of crazy armed guerrillas in the woods in the rainforest there from the late 60s, early 70s, all the way up until, well, there still are, but I mean, they were actively at war for 50 years. Yet that protected, like, for instance, parts of the Guianan Shield, the borderland region between Venezuela and Colombia and Peru and Brazil, all that kind of big box or triangle, whatever you want to call that, region of the remote Amazon up there. It's a mixed blessing. Same with Myanmar. There's still a region in the very north of Myanmar, right on the border of China, that is considered its own state, its own nation state. And they have ruby mines there, they have sapphire mines, they have gold mines, so they have a lot of resources, but they are also part of the historic Emerald Triangle, or Golden Triangle, if you want to call it that, but that supplied things. And now they're on the speedier side of things rather than on the letter O, the letter P, the letter M. Spell those out in your head, and that's what they were known for growing for 50, 60 years in Shan and Wa and, you know, those regions. Well, now they are basically the rebels in the civil war in that country, in Myanmar, Burma. They have taken over everything north of Shan and Lake Inle, and they basically have free reign. There are no government troops there whatsoever. And they also have laws in place for conservation, which is kind of wild. Like, you can't just dump stuff places. Now, the flip side of that is if you are one of the leaders or one of the people that's well known and rich and a part of, you know, the bureaucracy there, if you're one of the, you know, kind of oligarchs of sorts, you can dump stuff wherever you want. So yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah. So how are we doing, you guys? I appreciate folks saying to hit the like button. I do. You know, Guppies, that's another, and Alabib, hello, good to see you. Ace, good to see you. Tiffany, Grow, Mike, who else is in here? We got, you know, we don't have that many people, but that's okay. I'm like, where is everybody? Where are all the names that we freaking aquatics? Hello. So something I wanted to draw some attention to, because I had chatted with them about this in the past, and I'm a sellout, right? Alex is a sellout. Stephen P 2003, it's great to see you lurking here. Laura, what's up? Welcome. So share screen. Share the screen with the children of the future. Share the screen, live the dream. Okay, so let's make this full screen. Boom, full screen. CJ, I appreciate it. Listening while fighting the gang valve in my new rack. Oh boy. I like float valves. I refuse to deal with any other valves. Huzzah, Mary Kay, hello. Claire H, hello. JP Jeffries, hello. Lurking. All right, so the other thing I wanted to show you guys is, yeah, go over to Aquatic Arts. You guys know that I have a bit of a relationship with them. Well, look what they've got going. Hey, good looking. Look what they got cooking. They got tequila goodyids. They've got them goodyids that are endangered, that are in the breeding program, that were extinct in the wild. Now they're almost out right now, so I'm not gonna tantalize you with that. But they also had the Tychochromis grandidieri, which is that Golden Coast Madagascar cichlid that I did a little minute-long spotlight on. That my local store had some of these too, but these are almost definitely extinct in the wild in all the rivers but one that they once were in out of 9. Also here, these are other cichlids. These are Lake Malawi cichlids here that are CARES species that are under threat. So this one was $24.99. Now it's $19.99. But if you use the code FISHTORY15, you'll get that for another 15% off the green price. So here's the crazy one I wanted to show you. Someone with a little bit of room needs to get these because these are a wild and gnarly looking fish. These are pretty cool, and I bet they have more on reserve because they bought some, and they just didn't sell that well, and now they dropped the price from $79 to $29, which is like what they paid basically. It's like their landed cost from a local breeder, but these are a CARES also, and these are a really cool kind of a predatory looking haplochromis from Lake Malawi also. Look at all those gold eyelets on that anal fin. Really cool. Look at that big old jaw. It also jets out. And yeah, pretty cool though that that's $29.99 instead of $79.99. I just wanted to shout them out because I said, you guys, I hope you start carrying more of the CARES species. Like we need someone other than maybe Imperial and maybe the wet spot carry some of those fish, but on a regular basis it's kind of just between nerdy breeders, right? Well, this one we got the 3-spot torpedo cichlid also still listed on here, and these ones again, Lake Malawi. I mean, look at that, it's beautiful. The females and males, male up here, female down here, and they're just kind of cool. They obviously they need help. They are not going to survive without humans. On the same note, they have some of the Liberty mollies, which they're not in like dire straits, but they are. Their habitat is threatened, and I have some of these. I would not buy them again personally, unless I had them in a biotope tank that I could see well. Right now, I got them, and like kind of one male at a time really takes on a nice finish. The rest, this is a really good accurate picture. If you want the fish to look like this is what they're going to look like most of the time. But there will be one male that just absolutely puts on a crazy show. Also, the endlers, they've got some wild type or at least hybrid wild type stuff going on. They've got the various platies. And so I just think that's pretty neat that Aquatic Arts is doing that. They're also carrying some new lines of ultra fresh newborn fish, micron shrimp patties, shrimp pellets, micro shrimp pellets. And I haven't even tried any of this yet, but I hope to get an order soon to see, you know, what all is going to be offered in their line. But use the code FISHTORY, all caps, 15, and you can get a discount. So, you know, Aquatic Arts was really the first company to open my mind to the notion that, yes, there are endangered fish that are being sold in the hobby just because, you know, they can. There's no law against it. And what happens is oftentimes a habitat gets completely obliterated. So a mine comes in, they buy 5,000 acres of some small island habitat, right? And they buy up the mountain that has the headwaters of all the little creeks and streams on this Indonesian island, right? And they buy it up, They buy the rights to it, and they're only allowed to mine out of the 5,000, say 500 of those, so 10%. But they're allowed to clear timber, build bridges, or dam water to use it for hydraulic and like for pumping for the mine and things like that, or to build retention ponds. And these things are built at the top of the hills, and they all wash down when it rains and things. So my point is that just because, you know, they say, oh, we're only taking 10% of that island space, that's not the real damage that's done. When you see how much it takes over everything, it can be really devastating to the point that the fish are not going to be able to make it. But I think it's cool that they also have like lamias that are all tank bred, US bred, also red widow frontosas. You know, they're starting to carry some interesting stuff, some more of the rainbow fish that are out there. The Lake Kuru Moi sunset dwarf rainbow. These are the Melanotania parva. These guys are kind of fun in that you can get a 3-pack for $50, but they're a nice rainbow shimmer, really nice. They get this kind of dotted black line, and they get a nice belly when they're prego. When the males are adults, they get this red kind of mohawk, you know, top fin, low fin thing. And these ones are from New Guinea. And I want to double check before I say something, but it says, you know, ideally keep 6 of them to see ideal behavior and stuff, but they can live at 70 degrees up to 80, you know, 7.0 to 8.0 pH, and great for 55 gallon or up. You could probably keep them in a 40, no problem. But yeah, okay, so 4 inches is their max size. So again, not a nano fish by any means, but a great one. Also, these Macolokai dwarf rainbow fish, real similar to Radnocentris. I think these ones get maybe 3 inches maximum. Let's see what it says here, supposedly. Yeah, only a 20-gallon tank is needed for these. And yes, average adult size, like 2.8 inches. I'd honestly venture to say the ones I've ever kept have been less. So if you had, you know, some thread fins or some neon rainbow, they're phenomenal, you know. Also, black darter tetras. These were being sold at the wet spot, and they were being sold for $15 a fish. And usually the wet spot has pretty good prices, but these guys they're beating the price right now with the fact that they have 3 of them for 27, so $10 a piece. And again, any fish that lives in like a flooded forest and that has tons of babies that's collected during the dry season, even if it doesn't have a Latin name yet or anything, there's a really good chance that it is sustainable, because it is all the flooded forest fish kind of have the same strategy usually of either bedding down in the mud or going to where all the water is kind of draining and out into the main channels again when things start drying up. And yeah, I think that you can sleep more soundly when you know that. But if you have any great tips or tricks for understanding these species and like what truly is threatened. So for instance, these gobies, they were being considered threatened, and it was that there were 5 very similar species. This in particular one is actually okay, it seems, and the way it's being collected and so forth from one spot on a lake that it hails from, rather than going out over all the whole area and collecting it. But again, only $8.99. I think that's a great deal for these little guys, the true freshwater bumblebee gobies. Sometimes they go down to like $5, something like that. Denison barb, that is one that is nearly extinct in the wild. It's from the Ghats Mountains, in the Western Ghats Mountains. nearly extinct. A lot of platyfish are nearly extinct. Look at these live bear, these endlers. Some of the patterns on them are pretty cool. And I don't know, I don't think they're putting out there like K class or, S class, or like trying to delineate what kind of Endler guppy or live bear it may be, just because there's a lot of contention over these classifications. And unless they know 100% that is the case, they don't want to steer people wrong and say they know the provenance when they don't. Yeah, but again, lots of cool fish, and I just wanted to shout out the fact that they're doing some of the breeding and keeping of these things in house. Also, they do a great job with their shipping and with all their items, other than fish too. They have quite a few plants, and of course, they're invertebrates. They've got all the freshwater and non-freshwater crab, or I mean non-water crabs, like the uh, partially terrestrial crabs, the little mini pom-pom crabs, $14. It's a great deal. Moonlight Aquatics is the only other place I know that consistently brings these all in. So Moonlight Aquatics happens to be someone else I support. And if you want to get stuff from them, conveniently, it's just Fishery 10 instead of Fishery 15. And unfortunately, you get 10% off, not 15. But yeah, I mean, look at these koi angelfish. Everything's looking good. And a little birdie in chat also may have told me that that guy who popped in earlier, redfish, bluefish, may or may not be rising again someday. And yeah, kind of interesting about that. House of Pisces, hello, good to see you. Good Gamer Aquatics, good Gamer Aquatics. Good to see you, Ollie the Pufferfish Show. Good to see you, Jan. Good to see you. Yeah, always a pleasure. Also, I want to just say thank you again. I said it earlier, but thank you for those GoFundMe's. I was feeling really weird about it, but reading the GoFundMe's and seeing that a lot of you were like, thank you. I would have lost $800 of Malawi cichlids if I hadn't known that the ammonia was more poisonous in a high pH. I put a bunch of catappa leaves in the tank. I did a water change with neutral water, and I got it down to a lower pH. The fish's gills stopped turning red. And, I got these messages that I was like, all right, I'll take, $20 or, whatever, if they wanted to help me out with that. Because I was really feeling guilty that just so many other people need help. And if I can feel like I worked a little bit for it, then it doesn't feel quite so awkward. And I know our culture is just a little bit hesitant to want to lean on the crowd and so forth, but I do honestly want to thank all of you from the bottom of my heart. Whether you're able to support that or not doesn't matter. Just being here, caring, watching, sharing educational stuff, relaying the message of the love of nature and the education of fellow hobbyists and ourselves. All of it is really what gets me up and going in the morning and keeps me sleeping at night. So yeah. Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. You saved my ponds by saying, get the dang floaters off half. Yeah. A third to a half of your water you want to get rid of, especially outside. Duckweed, sometimes even frogbit or hyacinth, things like that, can choke out a pond, get the gas exchange all messed up, cause methane and CO2 and O2 to build up in there, sulfur as well. And not that those are like going to build up to a toxic level, but rather just they suffocate the fish because they're not oxygen. But Thank you so much, you guys. I do appreciate all of that, and I wanted to say it one more time later in the stream because I think almost $1,000 was raised, and I can't tell you what that does. Like that takes the fact that I am getting a cast. Hopefully, I think that's the plan if the swelling's down and everything, and insurance. I did a prior authorization, requested like, please cover this. I know you said no, but please cover it. And now they're saying, okay, if you get 4 doctors to say that you really need it, I guess we'll put a cast on your broken ankle. So I'll tomorrow I may be returning with with 1 or 2 casts or splints or something on my feet, which will make things harder for editing, getting around, doing the channel stuff. But you guys have really you buoyed my spirits, and I feel like ready to take on the next step of things, even if it's just that like this week feels accounted for with the GoFundMe. Like that, each time I go in and they mess with like my wound or my bandages, they consider that outpatient surgery and they charge it as such, and it just I don't know, it gets to you after a while. Even if like, I'm not going to pay that off anytime soon, I'll just pay what I can. So anyways, enough of that, but I wanted to just thank you guys again while there were more people in here. So do we have any emergency questions before I hop off? I wanted to do a little live stream, just tell you guys that I'm hanging in there. I am getting better. I'm working on this video, like I said, of what is the right answer of once you've decided this fish is endangered or this fish should not be harvested plentifully in the hobby. Do you get that fish and breed it in captivity if possible? Do you donate money to a cause if you feel strongly about saving a fish? Do you support your government's funding of these programs? Do you support private businesses like arowana farms where they pay 10, 20 grand for an arowana and that lets them save 100 wild arowanas at some preserve? So we're going to take a look at the reality of it. And when I talk to ichthyologists, it's a very heated debate. And that's why I think nobody wanted to go on the record about that. All of them were like, oh, I'll come on your show and talk about, my specialty at some point. I would love to. But no, I don't want to talk about, poaching or the government regulations surrounding this or that or the other. So I'm trying to diplomatically take their comments and basically cite them with journalistic integrity in the sense that, trust me, bro, this is what they said. Fish Dad, first time caller, long time listener. Right on. Good to see you. Jeff King, good to see you as well. I have Thai food waiting for me, you guys. So I have to say that looks pretty epic, and I'm gonna have to go for that. I will also try my best to stream on Tuesday. Also, my wife is gone for part of next week, and you know what that means? That means I will be lonely, and you are my only social connections, especially if I have 1 or 2 broken legs. So we'll probably have a couple extra streams, but stay tuned. I'm really going to need your guys' help promoting this video when it drops on conservation by fish keepers within the hobby. 28 of our Betta species are already either threatened with going extinct or becoming critically endangered. Out of the scientifically known ones, then you take the ones that we haven't even named yet, and there's probably a further 12 to 15 that we know about that should be in that category. And there's probably another 10 that are already gone that at one point were described, or we have a fermented, for lack of a better word, we have an alcohol bottle preserved of 1 or 2 of them, and they look nothing like anything anybody can go find now. The world is closing in on the habitat of fish. 1/3 of all freshwater fish are now threatened with becoming endangered or critically endangered or extinct in the wild. That is really scary. And our hobby loves novelty. And so for me, I think I'm going to draw a line, and I have to decide with feedback from you and my own heart of what that means, of not keeping fish that can't be bred in captivity. And even if they can be bred in captivity, what the video for tomorrow or the next day, whenever I drop it, comes out, what that will be going over is the notion that maybe you can breed it in captivity, but maybe it's not a popular fish. And maybe you don't have 8 tanks to keep the genetic diversity. Now, if you can create a network, if you are a proactive, organized person that really is gung-ho about these things, and you want to, connect with people in Europe and a person in Argentina, and you've got a network of people that are raising this particular species, that more power to you. That is a good way to do it. But if you're just doing it thinking that, well, I'm breeding them and putting them in the hobby, one, you're probably selling them to people who aren't. And two, is that enough genetic diversity? Do you truly know what you're doing? Do you truly know the provenance? And are you in contact with anybody at the time that will be of use to ever reintroduce these fish or do something like that? So yeah, all things to think about. And I'm sure everybody is going to have to draw a different line somewhere. Wicked Freaking Aquatics says, I stress about my betta fish. Alex, when should I add new bloodlines when breeding fish? It's different for every fish, which is tricky. Bettas are fairly resistant to the inbreeding impact being a highly negative one. Guppies, live bears are another one like that. They tend to actually know pheromonally which other individuals, even if it's their brother or sister, they'll pick the brother or sister that is most different from them. And there seems to be a smell or, some chemical signal that makes that occur that way. But they won't do it. They won't reproduce unless it's like the last chance in their life to do so. And that's all that's available. Most of these fish have pretty good built-in mechanisms for not doing that. Another tricky one though is like Madagascar cichlids or like Malawi or Tanganyika cichlids or rainbow fish. All these things, they all can hybridize. And then it's a whole question of, do you have a true wild strain? Or for instance, with the rainbow shark, a denison barb, some of the sorry guys, I'm having a brain blank, like fire eels and things. Did you actually get the true genetic pure fish and that's what you're raising, or did you get a hybrid? Because like so many rice fish, rainbow fish, cichlids, live bears, so many of them can hybridize. And it's up to very, very dedicated hobbyists to try to hold something together. The only times they've reintroduced fish were like the Tenictes minnows, the white cloud minnows, and the meteor minnows. Those have successfully been reintroduced into different locations than where they were actually caught. But over 50 years later, goodeids have also, and so have a number of endlers that were kind of feral and let go early in German ponds, and they think that they were collected like in the 1930s or 40s. Some of those genetics were later crossed back with K-class endlers and re-released into South American waters too. Also, the same is true of some of the fish in Madagascar. So you guys, I send you my love. I'm getting kind of worn down right now and I'm a bit plum tuckered. But if you're gonna support these conservation efforts, just do your research and look for the good ones, and stay tuned for my video if this is stuff that interests you. I really do appreciate it. all that you guys do here. Hope you have a wonderful night, that your fish are doing great, your plants are amazing, and that you feel free to ask questions if there's any trouble going on in your fish life or your real life here, because we are the fishy family. I'm not going to say I'm fish fam. I'm going to say we're the fishy family. We're a little different. We're a little more nerdy. We say the full word. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night, day, week, and hopefully I'll see you soon in a matter of days. Take care, and love the fish you're with. Do 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 do.